Assalamu alaikum dear students. I welcome all you in class 11th zoology. We were dealing with endocrinology and today we will have a recapitulation of another endocrine gland that you call adrenal gland. Adrenal glands are also known as suprarenal glands. When I say suprarenal glands, I mean those glands which are present above the kidneys. So adrenal glands will also be known as suprarenal glands. Suprarenal glands. Or in your NCERT text, there is also written that these glands are also known as glands of emergency. And in your reference books, it is written that adrenal glands are also called glands that control 4S. When I say 4S, I mean a gland that controls salt, sugar, citrus, and sex. 4S controlling glands. Sugar, salt, citrus, and sex controlling glands. When we analyze or when we had analyzed it in our offline classes, adrenal gland, this adrenal gland is actually a yellowish conical structure located above your kidneys. And this adrenal gland is actually composed of two main components. First is the adrenal cortex, this region represented by your dots, and the second part is known as adrenal medulla. And adrenal cortex is covered by a special membrane, a special cover, a special tissue that you call capsule, adrenal capsule. Now, as far as the adrenal cortex is concerned, by observing the microscopic anatomy, if we will dissect a part of cortex and will analyze it under the microscope, we came to know that this adrenal gland is usually composed of three different types of cells. All the three different types of cells are actually the endocrine cells. They are the endocrine cells. When I say they are endocrine cells, obviously they will produce special signaling molecules or special chemicals, information molecules known as hormones. Okay. Now, the three different types of cells include, as you observe the first type of cell, these are the rounded cells. When we analyze the second type of the cell, they are arranged in column shape. And when we analyze the third type of the cells, these third type of cells are actually arranged in branched cords. Here these are the branching cords. The third type of cell is in the form of branching cords. Okay. The first type of the cells or the first group of cells we call zona glomerulosa. You should recall that and memorize the term. The first type of endocrine cell found in an adrenal cortex is zona glomerulosa. The second type of cell present in your endocrine gland, that's the adrenal gland. The second type of endocrine cells actually are, this group of cells is known as zona fasciculata, Fasciculata, zona fasciculata. And third type of cells, which are actually the branching cord pattern cells, these cells are known as, this group of cells is known as zona reticularis. Zona reticularis. These are the three different types of or three different groups of endocrine cells present in your endocrine gland, that's the adrenal gland. That too in the adrenal cortex. In the cortex there are present rounded cells. The first group of cells is known as zona glomerulosa. The second type of cell is the pillar-like or the column-shaped cells. This group of column-like cells is known as zona fasciculata, and the third type of cells, which are actually in the form of branching pattern like structure, those you call zona reticularis. These are the three types of cells. As far as the first layer of cells, rounded cells is concerned, these cells produce a special type of hormone. These cells produce a special group of hormones. Those hormones we call mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids. The second type of cells, that is the zona fasciculata, they also produce another group of hormones. This group of hormones is known as glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids. As far as the third layer of cells is concerned, they also produce special type of hormones or special group of hormones. Those you call sex corticoids. Sex corticoids. So collectively we may say that corticoid, corticoid and corticoid. We may say that in our adrenal gland, there is the first major portion that is called adrenal cortex. It is this adrenal cortex that produces special types of hormones. Those are collectively known as corticoids. Mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, sex corticoids, produced by three different endocrine cells. Now, as far as the second part of adrenal gland is concerned, the second part is known as medulla, and it is this adrenal medulla that produces two special types of hormones. One is known as epinephrine and the second is known as norepinephrine. Norepinephrine. We will deal with these two types of hormones in a separate lecture. But right now my focus will be on adrenal cortex that contain three groups of cells that produce three different types of hormones. The first type of hormone which we will discuss right now will be zona glomerulosa cells. Okay. As far as the first layer of cells, zona glomerulosa, is concerned, these are the cells that produce special group of hormones. Those hormones you call mineralocorticoids. This is a group of hormones. The most important and the most amazing mineralocorticoid present in my blood or in your blood, the most essential mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. Aldosterone. Aldosterone is also known as salt retaining hormone. Salt retaining hormone. Now, in the adrenal cortex, there are present special group of rounded cells. This group of rounded cells is known as zona glomerulosa, written here. This group of cells produce special types of hormones. These hormones are called mineralocorticoids, and the most essential example of mineralocorticoid hormones present in my circulatory system or in my circulation or in my blood is aldosterone. So, aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone is actually a hormone which is also known as salt retaining hormone. What actually is the main role of this hormone? This aldosterone prevents loss of sodium ions. This aldosterone hormone prevents loss of sodium ions from my body. May gain your kind attention, please. The average, or I may say the normal sodium level in my blood should be approximately equal to 250 milligrams per 100 ml of blood. अगर हम किसी का 100 ml blood analyze करेंगे, उसमें जो normal sodium level होगी, that should roughly be approximately that should be equal to 250 milligrams. Now, what this hormone does, what this hormone is performing this action is that aldosterone hormone prevents loss of sodium ions via urine or by sweat or along with bile. Bile, special type of chemicals produced by our liver, stored in gallbladder. Now, please have kind attention here. Sodium ions are essential for performing several metabolic activity of our body cells. So what this hormone is meant for, this hormone actually regulates or controls the sodium level. Let us assume that this hormone, aldosterone hormone, is produced in excess concentration. जब एल्डोस्टेरोन हार्मोन की लेवल बढ़ जाएगी, then obviously more and more sodium will be absorbed. More and more sodium will be reabsorbed. When more and more sodium will be reabsorbed, and this sodium will be then finally drained into our circulation or into our blood. It is not only the sodium ions that are reabsorbed back from your urine, from your sweat or from your bile. Along with sodium ions के साथ साथ, along with sodium ions, water is also reabsorbed back. Water is also reabsorbed back. So should I say that aldosterone hormone causes sodium reabsorption, and sodium reabsorption is also accompanied by water reabsorption. When water is reabsorbed back and is drained into our circulation or into our blood, then should I say that our blood volume will increase? Our blood volume will increase. When blood volume increases, there is increase in blood pressure, hypertension. That will be discussed in later videos when we study cardiac cycle cardiology. But right now, if aldosterone hormone, if there is a deficiency of, let me come to its opposite concept, that if the aldosterone hormone is secreted in trace concentrations or in less concentration, or if there is deficiency, if there is deficiency of aldosterone hormone, अगर aldosterone hormone की deficiency हो जाएगी, इसका मतलब ये होता है कि now the sodium ions will not be reabsorbed back into our blood, but what will happen is that sodium will be discharged out along with our urine or with our sweat or with our saliva or with our this urine, sweat, saliva or bile. Or I will also say that it is not only the sodium that will be discharged out, along with the sodium ions, sodium के साथ साथ there will be water loss from the body. There will be water loss from the body. But Almighty has provided us with a very unique mechanism of salt regulation. That is, here I am dealing with another concept that is known as the RAAS. This is the most essential concept for class 11th. But in a basic terminology, we will discuss this. Not in a detailed description what actually the RAAS means. If aldosterone hormone is secreted in a deficiency, that means sodium will be lost out. Not only sodium, water will be also lost out. What happens is that if there is deficiency of aldosterone hormone, we have special structures. Those structures we call kidneys. Kidneys produce a special signaling molecule. Kidneys contain special cells. These cells produce special signaling molecule, special chemical, special information molecule. That chemical is known as renin, R-E-N-I-N, not R-E-N-N-I-N. that is protein digesting enzyme. Here kidneys produce special information molecule or special signaling molecule. This special signaling molecule is known as renin. What happens is that this renin then stimulates our liver. When the renin stimulates our liver, from the liver another protein is produced, another substance is formed. That substance we call angiotensin. I do not call here angiotensinogen, then that is converted into angiotensin. But in a brief discussion, whenever aldosterone is produced in deficiency, or whenever a mineralocorticoid is produced in deficiency, at that time there is more and more sodium loss, along also the water loss from our blood, from our body. At that time what happens is that kidneys produce special information molecule or signaling molecule known as renin. It is this renin that stimulates the liver, and from the liver angiotensin is produced. What happens next is that it is this angiotensin that stimulates our adrenal gland. It is this angiotensin that stimulates our adrenal gland, and from adrenal gland aldosterone hormone is produced. Have a quick recap what I mean to say. What I mean to say is that if our body has deficiency of aldosterone hormone, at that time sodium will be lost, water will be lost. Okay, there will be something will get seriously affected. When I say something will get seriously affected, I mean to say sodium level. At that time, what happens is that kidneys produce information molecules called renin. It is this renin that stimulates our liver. From the liver, another proteinaceous substance called angiotensin is produced. What happens next is that angiotensin stimulates actually these cells, or I mean to say angiotensin stimulates adrenal cortex, and adrenal cortex or adrenal gland then produces mineralocorticoids. When I say mineralocorticoid, here I mean to say aldosterone. Now, when kidneys produce renin stimulates liver, and liver produces angiotensin. It is this angiotensin that stimulates adrenal gland, and then adrenal gland produces aldosterone. वही मैंने कहा RAAS metabolism. Renin produced from kidneys stimulates the liver. Liver produces a very unique biological molecule that is called angiotensin. It is this angiotensin that then stimulates adrenal gland, and adrenal gland produces aldosterone hormone. RAAS, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Please keep it under focus. This might be asked in your NEET entrance examinations. Okay. And one more point that you should memorize is that if sodium level decreases in our blood, we call this hyponatremia. And if sodium level increases beyond the normal permissible limits, if the sodium level increases, then I should call it as hypernatremia. Right now, have a quick recap of what you have studied till now from the adrenal gland. It is this adrenal gland that contains adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. It is this adrenal cortex that contains three different types of cells. The first type of cell is the zona glomerulosa. Second is the zona fasciculata. Third is the zona reticularis. It is the first layer of the cells. Special types of rounded endocrine cells. These cells are responsible for the production of mineralocorticoids, special group of hormones. The most fascinating example of mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. It is this aldosterone hormone that is responsible for regulating the sodium level of my body. What happens is that aldosterone hormone prevents the loss of sodium along with urine, along with sweat, along with bile, or along with saliva also. Now, what I mean to say is that due to this hormone, sodium ions are reabsorbed back into our blood. it is not only the sodium ions that are reabsorbed by it, along with the sodium ions, water is also reabsorbed back. When water is also reabsorbed back into our circulation, then that means that blood value will increase. When the blood value will increase, then there is, if the aldosterone hormone is produced in excess concentration, a stage will reach when more and more water will be reabsorbed, and that may lead to hypertension or high blood pressure. In contrast to the fact, if the aldosterone hormone is produced in deficiency, if there is deficiency of aldosterone hormone, at that time there will be decreased sodium level in our blood, because sodium will be discharged out along with the urine, along with the saliva, along with the sweat, along with the bile. Okay, if the sodium is lost, water will be lost. Then we will feel dehydrated. But Almighty has bestowed us a special mechanism of salt and water regulation. For salt regulation, I will say here, a special type of mineral corticoid called aldosterone is present. What happens is, when sodium level decreases, when aldosterone is deficient, when aldosterone production is deficient, at that time sodium level decreases. When sodium level decreases, kidney gets stimulated, kidney produces renin. It is this renin that then stimulates our liver, and it is the liver that produces angiotensin, and it is this angiotensin that then stimulates these cells, the cells of zona glomerulosa, and these cells then produce aldosterone, and aldosterone production enhances the reabsorption of sodium ions as well as reabsorption of water. Hope you got the concept. And simultaneously उसके साथ साथ मैंने एक और point सिखाया, if there is a deficiency of sodium ions in our blood, we may call it hyponatremia, and to its opposite, if there is excess sodium level in our blood, we call it hypernatremia. Hope you got it. This is the first point. Now come to point number 2.